But the Indiana Fever went all out for Caitlin Clark's logo drop. So there was a lot of excitement already fluttering about Gainbridge, and energy was high. They definitely spared no expense in letting everybody know that Caitlin Clark does have a new logo out. The arena was actually covered with t-shirts that said Caitlin Clark was here. The outside of the arena had her logo everywhere. She even showed up with all these accoutrements with a CC logo in it.
Nike didn't just drop a logo. They lit a fuse that's now burning straight through the WNBA. With one bold design, Caitlin Clark was elevated from rookie sensation to global icon, and the league has never looked more fragile. What started as a logo reveal quickly turned into a business power move that exposed just how much the WNBA depends on one player to survive. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see why some are already calling it the beginning of the Caitlin Clark League. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps the channel grow and keeps you in the loop for more stories just like this. The night of Caitlin Clark's logo reveal didn't feel like just another WNBA game. It felt like an event. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was buzzing before the ball even tipped. Fans walked in to find the arena draped in shirts screaming, "Caitlin Clark was here?" Her initials and new logo splashed across every corner of the building. Even the outside of the arena looked less like a basketball venue and more like the launch of a global brand. Clark herself showed up decked out in custom gear, every piece marked with the sharp new CC emblem. Nike didn't just roll out a logo, they staged a coronation. With one bold design, two interlocking Cs, they sent a message that cut through the noise. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player in the league, she's the player. This wasn't a soft launch or a slow build, it was a statement of dominance. A warning shot aimed straight at the league itself. Because in that single moment, it became obvious. Caitlin Clark's brand wasn't being built by the WNBA. It was being built by Nike, and with one calculated move, they showed who really held the power. When the numbers leaked, jaws hit the floor. An 8-year, $28 million deal, instantly making Caitlin Clark one of the most valuable athletes in women's sports history. But here's the catch. The money wasn't even the headline. The real story was the symbolism. Nike wasn't handing out just another endorsement contract. They were crowning a new heir, elevating Clark into the same conversation as Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. This was bigger than a shoe line or a few commercials. It was a signal to the world that Clark wasn't simply a rising star, she was the future. Nike saw what the WNBA either ignored or refused to admit. The rating spikes, the packed arenas, the jerseys selling out in hours, all of it pointed to one truth. Caitlin Clark wasn't just lifting the league, she was carrying it. And in putting her on a global pedestal, Nike quietly exposed the league's weakness. They showed that the WNBA didn't make Caitlin Clark into a phenomenon. She made herself into one. Nike was just smart enough to make the investment first. For months, Caitlin Clark was the engine driving the WNBA into the spotlight. When she was on the court, TV numbers surged into the millions, rivaling NBA broadcasts and drawing national attention the league had never seen before. Primetime slots were suddenly available, arenas filled up, and for a brief moment, it felt like the WNBA had finally broken through. But then came the groin injury, and just like that, the league's momentum evaporated. Ratings didn't just dip, they nosedived. The All-Star Game, once promoted as a celebration of the league's brightest talent, collapsed by 36% in viewership compared to the year before. Games that had previously drawn millions of eyeballs now struggled to capture even a fraction of that audience. In some cases, networks didn't even bother releasing the numbers. Too embarrassed by how far they'd fallen, the silence from the league was deafening. One moment they were shouting about record-breaking ratings, and the next, they had nothing to say at all. Because the truth was impossible to hide. Without Caitlin Clark, the spotlight disappeared, and the WNBA was left scrambling to explain how one rookie had become its only lifeline. Before Caitlin Clark's injury, the spotlight wasn't just heavy, it was hostile. Every game felt like more than competition. Defenders weren't simply playing tough, they were sending a message. The infamous hip check from Kennedy Carter was the clearest example. It wasn't just a foul. It was a declaration that veterans weren't ready to hand over the league to a rookie. Behind the scenes, whispers of jealousy turned into open resentment. Some players couldn't stand that Clark, in a matter of months, had done more for the league's popularity than many of them had in their entire careers. Instead of embracing the rising tide, some seemed determined to drag her down, and that's where the WNBA made its biggest mistake. Rather than protecting the star who had become the league's lifeline, they allowed the aggression to escalate. The narrative shifted from Clark's talent to whether she could even withstand the punishment being thrown her way. It revealed something bigger than hard fouls. It revealed a league losing control of its own story. The numbers don't just suggest Caitlin Clark is valuable, they prove she's an entire economy by herself. An economist at Indiana University revealed that Clark was directly responsible for 27% of the WNBA's total economic output in 2024. Think about that. More than a quarter of the league's revenue, ticket sales, merchandise, media value, all traced back to one player. In Indianapolis alone, she generated $36 million in local economic impact. Hotels filled up, restaurants buzzed, and arenas sold out because fans weren't coming to watch the Fever. They were coming to watch Caitlin Clark. She didn't just bring basketball fans, she brought families, casual viewers, and first-timers who'd never cared about the WNBA until she arrived. That creates a chilling reality. The league depends on Clark far more than she depends on it. Her presence doesn't just boost the product, it is the product. And with her sidelined, the fragile illusion of league-wide growth has been shattered. The WNBA's record-breaking attendance wasn't organic. It was Clark-driven, which means she now holds all the leverage. And Nike knew it from the start. While the WNBA scrambled to explain falling ratings and empty seats, Nike was executing one of the smartest plays in sports marketing history. They didn't rush. They didn't panic. Instead, they tested the waters with Clark's Kobe-inspired Player Edition sneakers in Fever colors. The result? A complete sellout in minutes. Before most fans could even click Add to Cart, pairs were already being flipped online for nearly triple the retail price. That wasn't just a sneaker drop. That was proof of concept. It showed Nike that Caitlin Clark's appeal went far beyond the basketball court. She wasn't just moving tickets or jerseys. She was moving culture, and fans were treating her merchandise like gold. So Nike went all in, announcing her signature logo and laying the groundwork for a full product line. But the masterstroke was the timeline. Clark's first signature shoe isn't arriving until 2026. That's not a short-term cash grab. That's a dynasty plan. Nike is building her brand for the long haul, betting that her influence will grow year after year, turning her into the undisputed global face of women's sports. And while the WNBA looked reactive and unprepared, Nike looked calculated, controlled, and confident. They weren't just supporting Caitlin Clark, they were building an empire around her. Logos aren't just designs, they're legacies. And Caitlin Clark's new mark was crafted with the kind of precision usually reserved for icons. Two bold, interlocking C's form the centerpiece, a sharp, simple shape that looks just as good on a sneaker as it does on a billboard, but hidden inside is a smaller third C, a subtle nod to the way her game is built from the inside out. Detail, precision, and control. This wasn't some throwaway graphic. Clark herself was deeply involved in shaping it, making sure every angle told her story. To fans, it instantly felt personal, like a symbol of connection between her and the millions who followed her journey. To Nike, it was the cornerstone of a brand they're betting will live on long after her playing days are over. The comparisons came fast. Just like the Jumpman logo transformed Michael Jordan into more than an athlete, the CC logo signaled Clark's transformation into a cultural force. It's a logo that can stand alone, instantly recognizable, with the potential to outlive her career and define an entire era of women's sports. While other stars fight for recognition, Caitlin Clark now has a mark that cements her place in history. A logo not just for a player, but for a movement. By the time Nike stamped her with a logo, it was already clear Caitlin Clark had crossed into a different arena, mainstream culture. Her collaboration with Stanley, the company behind the viral tumblers, proved it. Suddenly, Clark wasn't just selling to die-hard basketball fans. She was selling to millions of everyday consumers who might never watch a WNBA game, but would proudly line up for a water bottle with her logo on it. That's the kind of influence the league has chased for decades, but could never manufacture. Clark did it in under a year. She became more than an athlete. She became a household name, a player who could move product, drive conversation, and shift culture on her own terms. In fact, sports historians are already drawing comparisons to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, the duo credited with saving the NBA in the 1980s. But here's the twist. Clark is doing it alone. She's playing the role of both Magic and Bird, carrying the weight of an entire league on her back. And that raises an uncomfortable question. What happens to the WNBA when its entire future is tied to one player's health, brand, and decisions? When Caitlin Clark finally steps back onto the hardwood, it won't just be another player returning from injury. It will be a spectacle. Cameras flashing, arenas packed, fans chanting her name, and on her chest, the emblem that changed everything. Her own logo, a symbol of dominance that Nike weaponized to crown her as the face of women's sports. But in the process, the WNBA has been exposed. It's no longer a secret that the league depends on one rookie to survive. The empty seats, the ratings collapse, and the desperation to keep her in the spotlight revealed the truth. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA fades into the background. With her, it becomes a phenomenon. The power dynamic has shifted. The league doesn't own Caitlin Clark's story. Nike does. And as she steps into her prime, one question hangs in the air like a storm cloud. Has the WNBA already stopped being its own league and quietly become the Caitlin Clark League?